There is so much you can do with a humble potato, isn't there? On this podcast episode, I'm joined by David and Kate Armstrong, a Lincolnshire father and daughter duo who are passionate about potatoes and have recently been awarded UK Potato Grower of the Year. Keep listening if you want to hear more. Hello, welcome to the Countryside Kitchen Meets, a food and farming podcast. I'm Milly Fyfe, your host. I'm a mum of two, farmer, food producer, and passionate about flying the flag for British food and farming. Today we'll be chatting to UK Potato Grower of the Year, David Armstrong, and his daughter Kate. Then I'll give you some inspiration when it comes to mealtime preparation and some recipes to share, meaning that you can juggle life with the children and cook a tasty, nutritious meal that everyone can enjoy. Okay, let me introduce you to my guests. The Armstrong family, David, Della, Kate and Ross, run the Spud Barn in Bardney, Lincolnshire. David has been growing potatoes at Abbey Farm since 1990, alongside combinable crops such as wheat, linseed and peas. All of these potatoes they sell have been grown by the family, so are fully traceable with low food miles. The farm is red tractor assured, so you can be confident that the potatoes are grown with food safety and the environment in mind. In 2019, David's daughter Kate became more involved in the farming business. She started to look at diversification ideas to help make the business more resilient for the future challenges UK agriculture is currently facing. Offering smaller bags of potatoes was one of the ideas. Both David and Kate I've known for the Young Farmers movement for many years. It might have been my fault that David was roped into becoming East Midlands area president. But he has always been a keen supporter of young people in agriculture. And similarly, Kate has been an active member of YFC too. David has recently been crowned UK Potato Grower by the National Arable and Grassland Awards, an amazing accolade to have. They really do know their spuds. So let's bring them on. Hello, David. Hello, Kate. Are you all right?
Yes, hi Milly. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah. Hello, Milly.
Hello, David. Are you all right?
Yeah, really good, thank you.
Excellent. So, if you've forgiven me for getting you roped in with all those different positions back in the day,
Yeah, just about. But I've had great fun, so thank you, Milly.
and you just told me that you're actually now a president of one of the local Lincolnshire Young Farmers clubs.
Yeah, I'm president of Rugby Young Farmers. I did it quite a few years ago, and I obviously must have done some sort of good because they've asked me a second time round, so that has been a great honour.
Excellent. That's brilliant. And Kate, are you still involved with Young Farmers?
Yeah, not so much now. I do still help out with like the rally and things like that. Yeah. I'm sure my time will come again in the future. You were talking about before that there's often a lull in the middle. You do your Young Farmers days, then there's a bit of a lull, and then you know that you're getting older when you start to get asked to be president.
Absolutely. I'm at that stage where I'm being invited to do judging and things like that. So I'm like, yes, okay, that's fine. Excellent. So let me sort of try and take you back to the start. Have you always been involved in potato farming? Where did it all begin, David?
Well, I'm guessing, farming all began for me as a youngster. I was brought up on a mixed dairy and arable farms. So I have seen some livestock in the distant past, but I seem to favour potatoes over something that needed fencing in. Didn't really like working with livestock. I liked growing arable crops, but potatoes, for some reason, I don't know why, but they always sort of took my interest. Were a little bit less mainstream. So back at home, we only grew a very small acreage, 10, 20 acres. And my dad used to sell a few from the roadside at that point. Around 1990, I was very fortunate to be allowed to nick 300 acres of land off my dad. Well, no, I rented it off him, sorry, and set up my own business, farming in my own right. And I sort of took the potato enterprise and sort of then intensified it. I always had a thought in the past where if I was to grow more potatoes, and I wanted to mechanise things and make life as easy as possible and not do the hard work that I felt we used to do. But I have to say you grow more, and then you need to grow more to justify what you spent. And in reality, you spend even more time with potatoes. But yeah, I've had an enjoyable career growing potatoes, and I've been relatively successful. Sometimes you feel like you're just waiting for the next disaster with potatoes, because bearing in mind they are 80% water, 20% or a little bit more dry matter. So when it goes wrong, it can go wrong in a major way.
Yeah, and you've had real big issues with flooding on the farm, haven't you?
Yeah, well, being in the sort of Witham Valley, and sort of grown mainly on fen soils, we're very reliant on water being pumped away. Quite a bit of land we grow potatoes on is below the level of the river which it's pumped into. So when them said rivers are in flood, there's always a potential for it to come our way. So there's a few years which I really remember with a lack of fondness: 2007, 2012, 2019. And now 2023 are years which I prefer not to remember.
And you did some PR around that, didn't you? You had BBC Countryfile come to see you?
Yeah, we've recently had Countryfile come to see us, and we talked about the flooding, in sort of fairly general flooding, and used at the time when they come, we had lots of water on farm, so we could demonstrate exactly what had happened. Yeah, it was a very interesting day, and very interesting to see how they edited and how it went out. It has been quite good just recently since being awarded this award. We've had quite a bit of coverage through the media, and it's quite nice to talk about something in the media other than talking about flooding.
Yeah. But it's really interesting because, well, I know it has such a negative impact on your business, isn't it? The flooding, because obviously it can wipe out your crop basically. And do you get insurance for that? You know, what can you do?
Well, a lot of the general public probably don't realise, but agriculturally we can't be insured for growing crops. So if some of our like most of our buildings are out of a fen, and the whole country would probably be flooded if they got flooded. But financially, I'd be better off if the grain or the potatoes got flooded in store rather than in the field, because they would be insured. But the growing crop in the ground is uninsurable. So ultimately that comes as a major cost. Like, to give you an example, 2019, which we all can remember being a particularly wet autumn, we were probably worse affected than we have been this year, due to having a lot more potato crops still in the ground at that point. This year we was quite well on with harvest, and we've probably lost about six acres that we've been unable to harvest. But we had a very close call, a 60-acre block of potatoes in an area called Hainton Fen, which when we got flooded back in October, eventually all got flooded, and we just finished harvesting that crop 5-6 days earlier. And if we'd lost that crop, that would have been £500,000 worth of revenue we'd have lost. So we really dodged a bullet, and it's a real example of the risk we can be taking.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's fascinating, but it's also just highlights the volatility within farming and the kind of challenges that you can't predict. Whilst you're very reliant on the weather when it's good, but when it's bad, it's really bad, and you can't do anything about it, can you? There are certain things, I think there's a lot of development in terms of different varieties that are perhaps a little bit more resilient to these sorts of things. But if you can't get on the field because it's too wet, then that's that, isn't it?
That's right. Well, I'd prefer a dry year anytime. Well, for a start, it's usually sunshine and a light sun. And potato growing, for us, we can add water. Like 2 years ago, we had some of the hottest temperatures ever recorded in Lincolnshire. Give them to me any day over a wet year. We can add water to crops, especially potato crops, but we can't take it away when they're flooded. Flood water is so powerful, as anybody will know who has been flooded, whether it's farmland or unfortunately in their homes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, you have diversified to offer bagged sacks of potatoes. How did that come about, Kate?
So we've always done a small amount of bagging, like Dad mentioned, even when he was sort of back at home as such, they did the sort of traditional 25 kilogram bags. And we've always done that here a bit, but not in any sort of on any scale. And when I started becoming more involved in the farm, it was sort of an idea of mine to offer smaller bags, because generally most sort of families or homes can't get through a big 25 kilo sack anymore. It's not really what people want. So the idea had sort of been floating around. And then when COVID hit, we obviously saw all the panic buying. We saw the supermarket shelves like bare, and we saw a huge amount of increase in demand. I suppose people come into the farm going, can I get potatoes? And yeah, at that stage we were still doing 25 kilo bags. And there was one point we were bagging them by hand just to try and get them in bags quick enough, because there was just so many people wanting them. So that's sort of really what gave us a kick in the right direction in terms of action, because then from that we then got really good feedback and we're like, actually this is something we could do. So we made the decision to do the 10 kilogram bags, and that's what we specialize in through the Spud Barn. So we came up with a brand, the Spud Barn, and have sort of run with that as our brand. And like I say, specializing in 10 kilogram bags. So when we initially did it, we thought it'd just be from the farm gate as we'd done previously, but sort of soon came to realise to actually get the volume there, we were going to have to sort of offer deliveries. So started in a relatively small way, sort of delivering around the local area. At the time, everything was done through people texting me and then either paying on PayPal or bank transfer or cash or whatever. And then it grew quite quickly, and all of a sudden it's like, I can't keep up with this. So we created a website, and people can then now go online, order their delivery online, pay online, or some people still sort of phone up and order over the phone, but the majority is done through the website. And then we deliver in around about a 15-mile radius around the farm. So and so we started in. So the harvest of 2020 was the first year we did the 10 kilogram bags, and it's grown each year. So for us it's really nice because we get that direct connection with the end consumer, because the majority of what we grow goes to a packer and then into Tesco, and you lose that connection. So it's really nice to get the feedback on our potatoes, but equally it's nice to be able to educate people, I think, around potatoes. Like, everybody's so used to getting them washed in a plastic bag and they last a week and then they start to shrivel up, and actually people understanding that when they come and washed in a paper bag that they will last for months. The fact that we've got them stored here on farm from harvest right through till end of May, beginning of June, essentially in a big fridge. That education piece as well, and that actually when they start sprouting, it doesn't matter, just take the sprouts off and carry on. It doesn't mean they all need to be thrown away. It has been really good, and hopefully we'll continue going from strength to strength, especially now we've got our Potato Grower of the Year award to
Absolutely
tell everybody we are the best.
Absolutely. No, and it's brilliant because I've watched the business grow, because I think I interviewed you for my blog, Meet the Producer blog, and that was probably when you were first starting out, and I've obviously followed your journey on social media, and I think the service that you're offering is absolutely fantastic, because presumably you're not only going to individuals that like small shops are perhaps making an order as well, are they?
We do a few farm shops, but to be honest, the majority of what we've aimed at is direct to homes. There's a lot of people that bag potatoes will sell to a farm shop, but that is still a wholesale market. For us, our wholesale market, potatoes leave the farm in a box, a big 1.1 ton box. To make it something slightly different, we needed to go down the actual retail route. So the large majority of what we do is direct to home. So it is that retail direct to the consumer, because there really isn't, well, in fact, I don't really know anybody else, especially in our locality, that is direct to the end consumer, because it's not an easy thing. You have to push it. You have to be in people's faces. You have to make it convenient, because at the end of the day, they're still going to go to the supermarket to buy their weekly shop. If you've not made it convenient, they quite easily pick up a bag in the supermarket. However, on the flip side of that, we have now got to a point where people are seeing the quality of what what we supply, the fact that it does last a lot better, in our opinion, tastes a lot better, even though the majority of ours go into supermarkets anyway. But particularly on the white side of things, we grow a variety called Melody, which would normally be packed as a general white, but in our opinion is a really nice tasting potato. But when you go into the supermarket, you might get Melody one week, the next week you might get Culture, and the next week you might get something else. So the fact that when they're buying from it, they're getting consistency each time, and that is starting to sell the product itself to an extent, which is a nice place to be getting to.
Yeah, no, absolutely brilliant. And so you touched on you have Melody. Is that the only variety you grow, David? What varieties do you grow and why?
Yeah, well, we grow for the direct sales through Spud Barn, we're selling Melody. Well, or we offer Melody and Maris Piper.
Yeah,
Melody is, as Kate has explained, is a white variety which is a little bit lower in dry matter, quite a sort of a little bit more yellowy, creamy textured potato. If you like your baked potato without too much butter in my view, that's the one to go for. Maris Piper is a very popular variety that the consumer has heard about and is popular, but a little bit higher in dry matter. So I would recommend it's used if you like your fried potatoes or your chipped potatoes. For me personally, I would always pick a Melody, but ultimately the customer knows best. So I'm quite happy for them to pick whatever they like. On farm generally, we do grow a range of varieties. This year we also grow some crisping potatoes, and they're specific varieties. So it's a variety called Taurus, which is specifically designed to make good crisp. Doesn't necessarily eat that well in other ways, and you wouldn't dream of selling that directly to the general public. And we're growing a variety called Georgina, which is a Tesco variety. We've grown.
Yeah, this last year we grew Buster and Lenormand, which were also white varieties. And we actually, on the crisping side, grew Titan. And one of the because you asked why, one of the reasons for that is it has got a resistance to PCN, so potato cyst nematode.
Okay.
A pest which is a problem in the field, and is one of the reasons why we don't grow potatoes in the same field like closer together than 10 years. Like, grow it 1 year and it'll be another 10 years before we can grow in that field.
Sure.
PCN will lay dormant in the field for at least sort of 10-12 years potentially. But Titan has this resistance that helps reduce the numbers, whereas something like Maris Piper will just send the numbers of PCN through the roof.
Wow.
So it's a management tool within our rotation to help sort of keep the numbers of PCN at an absolute minimum.
Yeah, well, and I mean, what else can you do to reduce that? Because presumably you can't get rid of that then. It's not something that you can just sort of spray off or anything. Or
historically, well, PCN has been a big problem to the potato industry, and that's one of the reasons we grow on quite a wide rotation. Historically, nematicides, which is a pesticide, have been used to try and control it and reduce it, and also has been source sterilants which are no longer available to use to try to control it. But nowadays the industry would try to use more integrated crop management type direction of travel. So in our case we use a long rotation, but so renting land off neighbouring growers, which enables us to do that. But also where we do pick up on a PCN problem, where possible, we then grow a resistant variety. And some may say, well, why aren't we growing resistant varieties right across the piece? Well, our consumers in the UK like their variety Maris Piper as an example, which isn't a resistant variety, and it's quite difficult to build resistance in variety and get all the other attributes correct. So at the moment it was only a few resistant varieties which have their own problems. So at the moment we're trying to grow them within the rotation to control the problem whenever we come across it. But I think going forward, that will be the direction of travel. Breeders will come forward with varieties with more resistances, which will hopefully help against the present pest. But the trouble is, as we all know, diseases and pests all evolve over time. So we never know what's around the corner.
No. So is there a big marketing exercise that needs to happen to help again, like promote different varieties to consumers? Because like you're saying that obviously everyone knows the Maris Piper, but it's becoming a huge challenge. So do we all need to get behind Melody? You know, is that the queen of the potato, Kate? Is that what is most popular, or you know, how are we going to overcome this?
Well, funny enough, Maris Piper's, if you look at the acreage grown, is the largest acreage grown in the UK. I think I might be right. I might not be quite correct, but I think Melody is the second most grown variety.
Sure.
But it's a lot less well known than Maris Piper, and as Kate mentioned earlier on, Melody in the supermarket goes into what they call their white category, so it's sold alongside a lot of other varieties which all eat differently. So it gets homogenized in a bit of a general potato rather than standing out on its own. And I think that's due to the way supermarkets have marketed potatoes, and that's where we have sort of come in with Spud Barn, in that we've got varieties, or especially in Melody, got a variety we know the customer likes. So by being able to, by buying from ourselves, they get the same variety, usually from the same field, grown in the same area every time. So if they like it, they can keep coming back for consistency. Well, the problem presently in the UK on table varieties is there's a lack of consistency of variety.
Yeah. Presumably then your customers, Kate, would they enjoy boiling them, shipping them? What do they do with them?
So generally, if I get a new customer, I'm like, do you know which variety you want? And they kind of go, oh no, what have you got? My first question always is, what do you do with them? And if you do a lot of jacket and mash, we'd always sort of direct people down to try the Melody. But I always say, like Dad mentioned earlier, if you do a lot of chips, then probably the Maris Piper would suit that better. For us, the Melody really is a good all-rounder, but it cooks a lot quicker than the Maris Piper. So if someone did a lot of boiled, they'd probably actually be better with the Piper, because if you don't keep a close eye on the Melody, it's overcooked and fallen apart before they realise. So but for mash, for jacket, in my opinion, you can't beat the Melody. And to me, it is a real all-rounder. I know Maris Piper has always been sold as an all-rounder, but I think, well, I don't know, maybe I'm doing that turn here, but for what a majority of households will probably do on a weekly basis, for me, the Melody fits that better.
Yeah.
Like it will still chip, but if you were really wanting a chipping variety, I would suit that better.
Yeah. Funny, I'm just trying to think the varieties that I've got in the garden. So I've got Charlotte, Cara, been gifted some Jazzy, and then I'm having a go, and then I'm having a go at some, they're like a purple potato. And I've only bought them because the kids were like, wow, this is amazing. I mean, they're probably not going to taste very nice, but I thought it'd be an experiment.
We used to grow a variety called Bluebell, which Tesco actually ran as a finest variety for a while, and it had sort of quite big purple eyes on it, and actually it was a really nice tasting variety, but it wasn't overly easy to grow. It had its issues, so unfortunately it didn't sort of stand the test of time, because we got on quite well with it, and like I say, it tasted really well. It tasted really nice, but and that is a bit the problem. It's a little bit the problem with the white varieties, that like Melody works for us in the majority of scenarios, but it doesn't work on all land types. Like a few years ago we had a real issue with growing Melody on some light land and got some internal issues. So they're always in the white category. There'll always be different varieties, because like I said, with different resistances and whatnot, until that holy grail of a variety is bred, there's usually some form of Achilles heel with anything, whether it's potatoes or whether it's wheat, whether it's whatever. There's never been that holy grail found. There's usually a trade-off of something. There'll always be different varieties out there, but I think that there definitely, could be more of a focus, even on the supermarket level, at trying to narrow that down and actually listening to the consumer. Because I think Dad particularly has been told in the past, people don't know what varieties they like. But Maris Piper gives that a complete opposite to that. People know it by name, same as like people that buy from farm shops will often ask for Marfona, and we'll often get people ring us up asking for Marfona. Well, that's not a variety we grow. Melody is very similar, but it's a real demonstration. People do know what they like. They get a variety, they get to know what it cooks like, what it eats like. And yeah, so to try and say that consumers don't know what they like, I think is quite a blinkered thought.
Well, my argument also would be that if you don't tell the consumers the attributes of varieties and and sort of educate as to what we know, they won't be interested in varieties. So that would be my criticism of the way we presently market potatoes through the multiple customers we deal with.
Yeah, well, and also when you go into said supermarkets, sometimes it's not even printed, but it's very, very, very small. And actually, you just rip the bag open and have the potatoes, and it's not until, like you say, you go, oh, this one tastes really nice, and then you think, oh, I want to try that one again, or and I think I'm fascinated about how your business has developed, and I think, I wish you were just slightly closer to me, but I know that when I'm sort of passing along the A46, I'm going to head off and come across to Bardney, no problem, because I'd love to pick up a sack of your potatoes because they just sound amazing. And
we will have to see what we can arrange, Milly.
Absolutely, no, that would be wonderful, because as you know, like, I obviously produce lots of videos helping to inspire people with different recipe ideas and things as well. So I think you've inspired me to actually talk more about the variety that I'm using, because I think there is a real marketing opportunity there. And actually, I think if people are interested, then I'll do more of that, because it's going to help you guys too.
And I think, to be honest, that's part of the growth with Maris Piper, because you see a lot of the sort of celebrity chefs and that and it was a little bit the same with King Edward. They talk about, because Maris Piper was an all-rounder, they would specifically say Maris Piper or King Edward or whatever. Yeah. So then people would go out and specifically buy that. So it does make a big difference.
Like, I would always argue that there's not such a thing as an all-rounder, that there's a variety to suit a lot of specific needs of the customer. And I do think, like, if you go into one supermarket who we supply to, they have a line called all-rounder, which they don't always put the variety on. Well, in my view, there's not actually such a thing. If you're doing a lot of frying potatoes, you might want some Piper and you might want some Melody then for another job. But that's my view.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, you've just recently been awarded UK Potato Farmer of the Year. How did that come about?
Well, yeah, I actually nominated him.
Yeah.
Not that he knew that. I kept it all quiet, because I thought, well, if I nominate him and he doesn't get picked as a finalist, it'll be all a little bit embarrassing, so I'll keep it quiet. So the first Dad knew about it was when he got an email through to say that he was a finalist. And yeah, so there was 3 finalists in the category. Both the other finalists would grow potatoes in a much bigger way than we do. So anyway, we trundled off down to London in February, got a table together of sort of friends, and thought, well, we'll just go for a nice evening out. And it was good to see there was quite a few other sort of Lincolnshire nominees in the other categories, in sort of cereal grower of the year and agronomist. So we knew quite a few people down there. And yeah, and then on the actual night, the best bit about the actual night is the comedian who was the sort of the compere for the evening, Lucy Porter. She apparently is a massive potato fan.
Amazing.
So all the way through the evening, she'd been bigging up the potato category. So it was the last category of the evening. And as she started to introduce it, she referred to them as, I can't say the first word, but heroes. Who are the heroes?
Amazing.
And then it got announced by the National Lottery man. He was doing the announcing, so that was all quite dramatic. And you were busy filming it, weren't you, Dad? And and then they announced his name, and he had to drop his phone and trundle off across the page.
Amazing.
I'll let you answer about how it actually felt to him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, I was filming thinking, well, I've got a 1 in 3 chance of winning, so I can carry on the most likely somebody else will get it. So then when they said my name, I had to sort of abruptly put my phone down and trot off up. So yeah, I got up on the stage, and Lucy, who was as Kate said, a very big fan of potatoes and very much giving everything a bigging up all the way through the event. So she's only very short, so I was able to pick her off the ground when we hugged, and then we had some photographs taken with the person who was awarding the award alongside Lucy, and then she announced that this photograph is going on my mantelpiece because you're a potato hero. All the kids are going off the mantelpiece and you're going right in the middle.
Amazing. And did you get like a plaque, or what did she present you? Was it some sort of trophy?
we got a nice wooden plaque with sort of potato grow of the year, and we had the sponsor in the middle of it.
FMC Agro as the sponsor.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Ace. And about as a result, then you've been a complete media fiend. Like, people have been after you. I'm very, very lucky that you've given me a few minutes of your time to find out about this.
I don't know about lucky, Milly. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. No, well, I followed your journey. You know, you took lots of pictures when you were on your way down to the awards, and I was like, oh, I was really rooting for you. And one idea I've had, as a result of this, I don't know if you follow, Kate, do you follow Poppy Cooks on Instagram?
No, I don't.
She's very well known for loving spuds. And she
okay. I'll have to get following.
Yeah. Well, when this goes out, I'll tag her in it as well. I mean, I don't know her, but I followed her for a little while, and she's done like the A to Z of what she's done with spuds and things like that. And she's quite a young chef that's kind of made her mark, and she'd be a good one to kind of try and just for a bit of extra exposure as well. So look her up and give her a follow. So what does the future look like then? Because obviously you've come a long way in a very short space of time, really. I mean, there's been a lot of diversification and changes, and a lot of success as well. So what's next for you guys?
I think from the Spud Barn point of view, mechanising a bit better what we do, because everything we've done up till now really has been making use of like old bagging kits and whatnot that we've had on farm from doing the 25 kilo bags originally, and sort of modifying that to fit with what we're doing. But it's still quite a labour intensive. It's still it's stitched, but it's hand stitched rather than an automatic stitcher. So trying to improve that side of things to make us more efficient. And I think probably upping what we're doing on the marketing, and rather than expanding where we're delivering, trying to maximise the delivery areas that we're currently delivering to, because although it's grown each year, you still drive past a huge amount of houses that we're not delivering to every time we are delivering. So trying to maximise what we're doing. I mean, it would be lovely to be able to start supplying our potatoes nationally, but one of the biggest drawbacks of that is you're trying to deliver quite a heavy sack of potatoes with a reasonably low value compared to the cost of postage that it
and you've got to rely on delivery drivers that might just lob it over someone's fence.
And that's the thing, we're very lucky. So originally I did the majority of the delivering, but we're very lucky that we have a lady, Kath, that now delivers to us, and we were quite picky with our choosing our delivery driver, because a part of what we do and what we're trying to promote is the service that we provide. And we wanted a delivery driver that was going to continue that really friendly, personable service. And when you've got somebody that can't necessarily carry them that well, and they want you to, they open up their garage and they want you to put it in their garage, put the bag of potatoes in their garage, that's what we wanted to carry on. And like you say, once you start sending them out with couriers or whatever, you lose that, and goodness knows what state they would be in by the time they turned up in people's houses. That's it. It's just continuing to push forwards what we're doing. I mean, this has been great. I mean, the post that I put on our Facebook page of Dad winning has got, I think, got the most likes and shares of any post we've ever done. So it's, yeah, we got a mention on Look North, and I've had people sort of specifically contact us to congratulate us. It took Kath 2 hours longer than normal to deliver on Saturday because she had lots of people stood at the door waiting to congratulate.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
So yeah, it's been like, yeah, following on from the award, it's been really lovely to sort of, I mean, there's been lots of comments about, we always knew they were the best potatoes. It's really lovely to see, because we can be quite biased and think that our potatoes are the best, but it's always good to hear it from others.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
And on your question of how we take it on from here, I'm open to advice. Like if you've got any expert marketeers among your followers, it would be great to hear from them. But yeah, we at the moment we deliver in a sort of 15-mile radius of the farm, and what we're able to demonstrate is sort of how sort of local it all is. But ultimately, to sort of gain sales, you either have to sell more in that area, or you have to go further afield. But as soon as you go further afield, you then start to be a little bit less local, and possibly start bumping into other people doing, I don't know about a similar sort of thing, but other people marketing potatoes to customers in lots of various different ways. So it's a difficult one to know how you sort of carry on. Up to now, we've grown it every year, but it's making that next step where there's some choices to be made. Do we set up another round sort of in a wider area and things like that? At the moment, we deliver 2 days a week, once a fortnight. So Kath comes in 2 days a week, basically. But how do we make that next, get to that next stage is sort of question we haven't quite answered.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you don't want to sort of get to the Spud War kind of can you imagine? Well, maybe that would be like a really good TV show. Spud War. You're battling it out.
I like sticking to our unique selling point, and everybody else can stay away.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's manageable, because then you get to the stage where like you have all got these sort of problems. I mean, they're good problems to have if you are thinking bigger and what have you, but it's kind of, how do you continue to make it profitable and manageable as well?
And like I say, it has grown quite considerably. When we first started delivering, it was a case of throwing a few bags in my car or Dad's truck, and then it quite quickly was like, this isn't working, there's too many. And then we have now got a van, but even on some days, well, particularly in the run up to Christmas, we were having to split rounds because the volume was there and the demand was there, which is really nice to see. So there will be a sort of a tipping point where we have to make some quite big decisions. But like Dad said, the marketing side is not probably a strength of any of us. Any thoughts and ideas and suggestions on that side is always welcome.
Absolutely. Well, perhaps off air, I'll give you a few pointers, because obviously prior to doing all of this, that's kind of what I do. So there we are. But do you enjoy cooking your own spuds? What are your go-to dishes? You know, what's on the Armstrong dinner table tonight, apart from
Well, I'll start this one as a major consumer of potatoes. Probably less on the cooking side, but I think, like for a majority of people, roast potatoes will be my favourite. We have very recently invested, or Della has invested, or rephrase, in an air fryer.
Oh, right.
So the weekend we had our first roast potatoes out of it, and Della was very impressed because it enabled us to roast them with a lot less mess and quicker than it would have been doing them in the oven. And we can do baked potatoes in there as well. Like I think baked potatoes will be my go-to, which I eat most mainly, because for me, if I'm not known as a chef or a cook. If I come in and I'm thinking, what we're going to eat tonight, Della's gone off running. And I would put a baked potato, well, used to be in the sort of combi oven, but now into the air fryer. And then the next question is what I'm going to put with it. Choose the potato first.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. What about you, Kate? What's your go-to?
Jacket potato are probably one of the things I have most of, but to be honest, again, with the air fryer revolution as it is, we actually do quite a lot of chips at home. Actually, melody chips, after I've said all of that about Piper, but because you can air fry them. They're not, I wouldn't have ever deep fat fried them, because I can't do them with the smell of it.
No.
But you can do them in the air fryer with very little oil or anything like that, and quite easy to throw with most things. But it's quite funny, because sort of growing up, as you can imagine, we had potatoes with like every single meal, and it wasn't actually until I went off to uni that I realised it's not actually that normal to have potatoes with every meal. To the point where even with a barbecue, I was like, well, what about like jacket potato or something? And they're like, well, no, we've got potato salad. I'm like, yeah, but always have, or lasagna. Always have a jacket potato with lasagna. Apparently, that's too many carbs.
Oh, you're a bit more worldly wise now with different cuisines.
You can't beat a potato.
Oh, no, absolutely. No, absolutely. How can people find out more information about you? You've obviously mentioned you're on social media and your website. Can you tell everyone what they can do to obviously give their support if they're not necessarily local to you?
Yeah, so we've got our Facebook page, Spud Barn, and on the website, it's sort of got information about what we do, about the farm, and then is also for ordering if you are local. Equally, if you're trundling to Lincolnshire at any point, there's always potatoes to be collected from the farm. We sort of generally supply from September, right, when we start harvesting, through till probably the beginning of June. So there is a period in the summer where we don't have any, but most people have sort of switched over to new potatoes and things like that through the summer, which we don't grow, because one of our big focuses has been just supplying potatoes that we grow here on the farm, so that we know where they've come from, what's happened to them all the way through the process, rather than buying in from elsewhere and not having that full traceability. So that has been one of our main focuses.
I would encourage people, though, during that summer period when we're not supplying potatoes, one of the best things to do is in March, April, get hold of a few seed potatoes, put them in the garden, and then dig them immature during the summer months, because if you're eating what I call proper new potatoes, you can't beat them being freshly dug out of soil. We get a benefit of being able to do that in the middle of the summer on our immature crops before we get anywhere close to harvest. So I'd really encourage people to have a go at that.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Well, funny enough, I'm doing a local project actually with our primary school. I'm a Grow Cook Eat ambassador, and we're growing a few spuds in sacks. And like you say, the taste is just out of this world. And the new potatoes compared to the ones that you go into the retailers and put, the flavour, it's just incredible, and you just can't beat it. So yeah, no, I'm with you on that, definitely.
Yeah, well, the best taste at that stage is when they're still not at a commercial yield. You have to understand, I'm not going to diss new potatoes through any other sort of outlet, but ultimately we've got to get to a commercial yield for them to market. Whereas when you're taking them out of your garden, you can have a go a lot earlier than that.
Yeah, no, definitely. Brilliant. Okay. Right. Here are a few ideas for you to try at home. Of course, we are talking about potatoes some more. Why not? Such a versatile crop, as we've just discussed, and so good for you. So we haven't even touched on the fact that potatoes contain antioxidants. They supply beneficial vitamins and minerals, including vitamin C, B6, and potassium. They may also benefit your digestive health. I do love to make jacket potatoes for the children. They are so filling, and the world is your oyster when it comes to what you have with them. Baked potatoes and cheese, tuna fish, leftover chili con carne. My absolute favourite is coronation chicken with a jacket potato. And everyone, I've got a thumbs up there from David. Everyone seems to cook a jacket potato slightly differently. So I prick with a fork and I blast it in the microwave for around 8 minutes. And then I transfer it in a baking tray and leave in our Everhot for about 45 minutes. I just give it a bit of a shake, perhaps halfway through, so that it's sort of an even cook. and I eat the skin, and I encourage the children to do so too. And I think there is that real debate over, do you eat the skin, don't you? But I know that there's so much goodness in the skin as well. And actually, I very rarely peel my potatoes. I don't know, perhaps I'll ask David and Kate that in a minute, what they do. In season right now, July, there is so much going on right now. In my garden, peas and beans. Oh, there is nothing better than going down the garden and podding some peas and just eating them direct. And the kids absolutely love that. And having spent time on a pea viner last year, I realise the incredible effort that pea farmers take to get peas from the field to the supermarket. And actually, Great British Pea Week is in July too. Now, I can't decide what my favourite bean is. Probably a French bean. I grow a variety of different beans throughout the year. Probably one of my favourites would be the deep purple dwarf French bean, a variety called purple teepee. They're a delicious part of a salad or with some new potatoes and fish. You grow your own peas, David. What variety do you grow?
Well, presently we're not actually growing peas, but
okay.
But when we have grown, well, ultimately for this coming season, last couple of seasons, we do try to grow peas quite wide in the rotation, so there hasn't been a rotational opportunity. But we grow
Profit.
Variety called Profit, which is quite an old variety now, but they're grown for dried pea market, where it used to be called blue pea market. I think they now call it green peas. So
yeah,
that's for Kate's the expert on what the use of them
well, a lot of that will go into, well, even sort of canned mushy peas, although the majority of that is Marifax. But in your soups, your canned soups, any soup mixes or anything like that. So it's where you might get split peas and that sort of thing. So what we grow is more on the dried side rather than the vining side, which is sort of what you're talking about, which goes then into your frozen peas.
No, absolutely. No, I had a great I went over to Boston and sat on a pea viner and I had a great time. So well, there's some videos on my blog and and actually there's a previous podcast episode if anyone wants to listen to it. Well, what I will do is share all your information on and the show notes as well, all the links and everything, so everyone can follow you. But tell me, are you a skin on or skin off?
On.
Skin on. And you, David?
Well, I have my baked potato. Obviously, the skin's on it while it's cooked, but generally when I eat it, I actually abandon the skin. Mainly due to you get to a certain age where certain things create digestive issues, and sometimes potato skin can. But sometimes I'll eat a potato and then I'll carry on and eat the skin afterwards.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, so what you're saying is maybe a bit of excess wind, maybe.
No, I am not going to touch on them. But in reality, the dogs, especially Murphy, the dachshund, he very appreciates when I leave the skin on the plate.
Oh, right. Oh, there we are then. Well, that's sharing is caring, isn't it? Absolutely. Right. Okay, right. That's all we've got time for today. Now, do me a favour, will you, please? Would you rate the podcast, hopefully 5 stars, and share with someone who would be interested in the podcast too? I'd love for more people to tune in and share the love, really. And also get in touch if you want to become a guest, or send me a voice note as well, because it's often really nice when people are sharing their recipes with me, and just send something to me on WhatsApp. My email is hello@millyfyfe.com. But brilliant. Thank you so much, David. Thank you so much, Kate. It's been a pleasure catching up with you. See you next time. Bye. I hope you've enjoyed this season of the Countryside Kitchen Meets podcast. We've met so many inspiring farmers, growers and foodies from all over the UK. I am incredibly grateful to my podcast sponsor, Muddy Matches, which helps to keep my podcast platform and editing costs as low as possible. I'm now taking a short break over the summer, and we'll have more interviews to share with you on the Countryside Kitchen Meets podcast soon. Thanks for listening.